welcome back to Score on Business. So remember, check out our website, scorenashville.org, and let's get to our next guest. We've got Mr. Marc A. Wolfe. Marc A. Wolfe sees the world of business with a vision of what can be versus where it is. He's passionate about assisting businesses and executives in achieving greater success through his expertise in communication, business process, and technology. Marc developed his unique forward motion strategy through his professional experience, having consulted with medical professionals, creative thinkers, and corporate executives. As an entrepreneur, Marc has started 6 businesses, 4 of which he started by the time he was 28. You're older than 28?
Yeah, a bit older than 28.
Wow,
yeah.
Never guessed. Okay, during this time, Marc has assisted Fortune 500 clients in 18 states and 3 countries. So, okay, Marc, tell us the steps a company should use when they aren't sure how to approach a strategic project.
You know, Pete, part of the problem that people have when they try to address any kind of project is sometimes they get into it and they really don't completely define what it's all about. They don't really go through and understand what are all the steps, who has to be involved, what really needs to make it happen the right way. So I have an example of something that went very well, and this probably can help people understand how to do it the right way. There was a client that came to me, and they have associates globally. So they're a large company, and what they wanted to do is they wanted to communicate a message. They had a museum that they wanted to create that they already had physically located. But they didn't want it just on the web. They didn't want it just in one location. They wanted to be able to be...
To clarify, this is a museum of their products.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
it's actually physical products, and they wanted people to see them.
Yeah.
So they wanted people to see them, not just on the web where it's digital. They wanted to be in their own presence where it was.
Yeah.
It had to be multilingual. It had to be able to be life-size, and it had to be able to be shippable around the world. So that's where the web doesn't always work when you actually have to have presence. So went through and we talked to the stakeholders and really tried to understand what is the real project. Let's look at this from a different perspective. How many different ways can we make this happen? And then we went through and spoke with them and took step by step through that, understanding each part of the process, understanding who it is, how it would affect them, also what the goal was, also looking at the costs and looking at each way that it needs to be deployed, and then even interviewed vendors and found out the right ones that were going to fit and the ones that weren't going to fit. Part of the process was that it was going to take a certain amount of time, months to do, and then the result was a life-size, shippable, boxed, multilingual museum that was that did all these different things for people to understand and have knowledge about the company. So it exceeded expectations because it did more than just a museum that people can touch. It was interactive. It was very current. So the client was thrilled, and each one of those steps had to be done in order for it to be done correctly.
Right.
And we were brought in as an outside vendor to go and help bring this together. We didn't sell them anything. We sold them knowledge and helped organize and strategize.
Awesome. Awesome. So what's the primary issue you see that prevents companies from achieving an early stage project goal?
Well, I see 3 things that are really the biggest things. It's fear, function, and it's also the third F, which is which also just there's another F.
Yeah.
It's fear, function.
Okay, let's keep moving. You may think of it. So, so with the fear and function, talk a little bit about that.
Okay. So what happens is that the fear is that people fear change. They don't go through and they don't like what change is going to be. So they look at things and go, hold on, if we implement this, we do this change, how's this going to affect me? They kind of like the way things are. With functionality, with any kind of project, it's going to change the way people do things, but the function, if you take too long to implement a project, actually things change and they don't actually work correctly anymore. You can't take 2 years to do something you need to do in 6 months.
Right.
So the other one is finances.
Okay.
The third F is finances. And the reason I forget finances is because so many other people forget finances. They don't think about how the budget's going to be. They don't think about how that's going to come together. And all of a sudden, it's one of those forgotten parts. And they don't even have a buffer to go and say if it's going to go over what they're going to do? What happens if costs change? What other ways can they do it with things that they already have in place instead of always looking for something else? That's why when you're inside a company, and even this large companies like this, small companies have the same problem. You don't really know what you don't know. You go into it, you have these expectations, but you don't realize there's a lot of things that can actually happen and change because of what's going on. And sometimes there's an outside perspective that gives you insight that you would never have.
Right. Awesome. Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Remember, check out that website, scorenashville.org. Thanks.